We did till here. Like Prospero decides that he is going to tell his daughter finally what all happened in the past in their life. So this is what Prospero decides to do. So he asked Miranda to take off his magic robe. I told you the reason why he asked Miranda to take off his magic, to help him take off his magic garment or magic gown or magic robe, whatever he was wearing. Because he wanted to talk to Miranda like a daughter and not as a, sorry, he wanted to talk to Miranda like a father and not as a magician. Lay down his robe. Lie there, my yard. And so what does Prospero do? He lays down his robe. So he just keeps his robe aside. And then he says that you be there, you robe, you just be there. Lie there, my yard. So lie there, my yard means let my magic clothes be there. Wipe thou thine eyes, have comfort. The direful spectacle of the rack, which touched the very virtue of compassion in me. I have with such provision in my art, so safely ordered that there is no soul, no, not so much perdition as an air, fitted to any creature in the vessel, which thou heardest cry, which thou sawest sing. Sit down, for thou must now know further. So Prospero says that you please wipe your eyes. Miranda has been crying because she saw the vessel sink, the shipwreck. So she has been crying for those poor souls who were on board that ship. So Prospero asked Miranda to wipe the tears which were flowing from her eyes. The direful spectacle. The direful spectacle means the terrible, frightening sight which you saw, the terrible sight which you saw, the scary sight which you saw of the rack. Of the rack means of the shipwreck, which touched the very virtue of compassion, which greatly moved the quality of, you were moved by that sight, by that terrible sight, the compassion inside you which you have. I told you earlier also that Miranda was a very gentle soul. She had a lot of kindness. She had a lot of compassion inside her. And so that virtue of compassion which you have, that virtue of kindness which you have inside you, that virtue is moved, that quality. Virtue here means quality, which Indi means you, which you have inside you, that has been touched by this shipwreck. I have with such provision in my yard. So trust me, please believe me that I have with such provision, means I made such preparations by using my magic. I agree. I want to tell you that this shipwreck was performed by me. I was the one who was responsible for this shipwreck. But I took care of every minute detail. I made such provision. I means that I made such preparations in my art, so safely ordered, that I arranged everything. So safely ordered means I arranged everything effectively, means everything, every minute detail of this shipwreck was arranged in a very effective and in a very proper manner, that there is no soul, not so much perdition. So trust me that not even a single soul, perdition means loss, so not even a single soul, forget about the soul, not even a hair, not even a single hair of anyone who was on board that ship has been harmed. So that's what I want to tell you, that I made proper arrangements for everything so that no one is harmed. Forget about anyone being harmed, not even a single hair of anyone was harmed. Single hair means not even the slightest injury was caused to anyone. Bit it to any creature in the vessel. Bit it means to happen. So not even the slightest injury happened to any person in the vessel. Vessel means in the ship. So everyone is safe. Whatever you are seeing, whatever you are able to see happening in the sea is just an illusion. I have taken care of everything, that nobody is killed, nobody is harmed in this shipwreck. Which thou heardest cry. So all these creatures who are in the ship and whose cries you are able to hear, all this is just an illusion. Why? Because these are they are crying. They feel that there is a shipwreck. They feel that they are about to die. But I can assure you, because I am the one who is responsible for all this, responsible for the shipwreck. So I am assuring you that nobody has been harmed, which thou sawest sink. No person who was on the ship, whose cries you were able to hear, nobody was harmed, and the ship which you saw sinking, so that was also just an illusion. There was no such thing as sinking of the ship for real. Sit down, for thou must know further. So now I ask you to sit down. Why? Because it's time for you to know further. Means I want to reveal some secrets to you. I want to reveal something about the past to you. So you just relax, you just calm down and sit with me, because I want to talk to you. I have something important which should be told to you at this present moment. Miranda, you have often begun to tell me what I am, but stopped and left me to a bootless inquisition, concluding, stay, not yet. So Miranda says that you have done this to me in the past. Several times in the past, Prospero must have told Miranda that I want to tell you something. And then the next moment he would have cancelled the idea of telling Miranda about the past. So that is what Miranda is saying, that you have often in the past you have often uh, started telling me about something and then began to tell me what I am. You wanted to tell me something about myself, right? You started revealing something about myself, but you stopped. You didn't complete that particular thing. You didn't complete your story. Just started and then immediately you, on second thoughts, you immediately stopped. Suddenly you stopped. Means I was never revealed everything about my past by you and left me to a bootless inquisition. Bootless inquisition. See what happens if I come to you and I say that, see, listen, I want to tell you something. What will happen? It will excite your curiosity, right? You will show your eagerness to know what I want to say. And the next moment I say, Arey, leave it. This is not the right time. I will tell you. It's a long story. I'll tell you afterwards. So how will you feel? Thousands of questions, they will start cropping in your head that now what was it that she wanted to tell me, right? Was it something important? Was it something related to me? Was it something related to her or whatever? But many questions take birth in your head the moment somebody talks like this. So that is what Miranda is saying, that in the past Prospero must have done a similar thing to Miranda, right? He must have decided to reveal the story of her past to her, but then on second thoughts he dropped the idea. So what was the result of this? And left me to a bootless inquisition. What does it mean? Bootless inquisition. Inquisition means questioning. Bootless means something which is in vain, useless. So there were like thousands of questions which started arising in my head when you didn't reveal anything to me, when you just started and then you stopped suddenly without telling me the entire thing. So at that time what happened? My mind was full of many questions, and those questions in vain, because you were not going to tell me anything at that time. I was not being told anything at that time. So those questions, that there was a kind of vain questioning going on in my head, concluding, stay not here. And then how did you conclude in the past? That wait, this is not the right time to tell you. I'll tell you afterwards. You have said this in the past several times. Prospero, the hours come now. The very minute bids thee ope thine ears. So Prospero says that no, now the time has come. I've told you in the past, right? I stopped because that was not the right time for you to know everything. But now the time has come. This particular hour, this particular time is the best for you to know about yourself, to know your identity, to know who you actually are. The very minute bids thee, ope thine ears. So this very minute tells you, bids you means to order, to order someone. Bids you means this very minute instructs you. Thee means you. Ope thy ears. Ope thine ears means be attentive to what is being told to you by me. Means whatever I am going to tell you next, please listen to me attentively. Please concentrate fully on my words. Mark my words. Obey and be attentive. So I'm telling you to please obey me, obey my instruction. And what was the instruction which was given by Prospero? To pay attention to what he has to say. So obey and be attentive. So please obey my instruction and listen to me attentively without any kind of distraction, without getting distracted. Canst thou remember a time before we came unto this cell? I do not think thou canst, for then thou wast not out 3 years old. So he says, then before telling her everything about the past, Prospero asks her, do you remember anything before we came unto this cell? This cell means the cave where they lived on that island. So do you have any idea, do you have any memory of the time when we were not on this island, of any memory of the time before we came onto this island? Do you remember anything of that time, anything about that life before we came to this island? I do not think thou canst. Though I don't think, because you were quite young, so I don't think that you must have any memory of those days, right? I don't think that you must be remembering anything about that time. But then thou was not out 3 years old. And why? Why I don't think that you must be having any clear memory of that time? Because at that time you were just 3 years old. And for a 3-year-old to remember something in detail, it's very difficult. You're very young when you are 3 years old, right? So it's not possible. So out 3 years old means hardly 3 years old. So she was she was not even 3 years old. So that is what Prospero says. And then Miranda says, certainly, sir, I can. So Miranda says, no, sir, you're wrong here. Of course, I can remember something. I have some faint memories of that time. Prospero, by what? By any other house or person or anything? The image tell me that. Hath kept with thy remembrance. So now Prospero is like curious to know, what does she remember? Because a child of how many of you remember what happened to you when you were 3 years old? Even if there must be some memory, it must be a very dull and it must be a very faint memory. Yes or no? We cannot remember very clearly what happened when we were 2 years old, 3 years old, right? So that is what but Miranda says that no, I remember something. Certainly, sir, I can remember. I have some memories of those days. So Prospero says, by what? So by what means, what is it that you remember? Please tell me. I want to know. By any other house or person? Is it any other house in your memory? You have a memory of any other house, or you have a memory of any other person? Whose memory do you have in your mind? Of anything, the image tell me that. Or do you remember anything else? Do you remember any house? Do you remember any person? Or is there anything else which is there in your memory? Hath kept with thy remembrance. So I want to know, please tell me, what is it that is still there in your memory, that is still a part of your memory, it is still a part of your remembrance. Please tell me. I want to know. So Miranda, it is far off and rather like a dream than an assurance that my remembrance warrants. So she says, it's like something which happened long ago. It's far off. So it's far off means it's a very distant memory I have. So again, what is the meaning of a distant memory? Means again something which is very unclear, faded, a faded memory I have. So it is. It seems as if something happened long ago. So I don't remember clearly, and rather like a dream. And it seems to me that it is like a dream. Means I am not able to differentiate that whether it was a dream or whether those things actually happened to me. So those memories, they actually seem to be like a dream to me than an assurance. So then an assurance means certainty. Means I really cannot say anything with certainty about what is there in my memory because I'm not very sure of anything. These things just seem like a dream to me that my remembrance warrants. And so, because I cannot be very sure of it, so I cannot guarantee whether whatever I am telling you that actually happened, that is something which was a reality, or it's just a figment of my imagination, or it's just a dream. I cannot be sure of. So I'm not going to warrant means guarantee anything. Had I not 4 or 5 women once that tended me? So then she asked, was it not so that there were 4 or 5 women who attended? She was a princess. Her father was a duke. So obviously there must be many maids and servants who must be taking care of her. Right? So that is what she asked. Was it not so that there were 4 or 5 women who were like taking care of me, tended me means who looked after me, who took care of me? So Prospero says, there hadst and more. Prospero says, yes, you are right. There were. And what are you talking about 4 or 5 women? There were even more than that. It's not only 4 or 5 women. There were many more. Miranda, and how is it that this lives in thy mind? And I'm really surprised. Means how is it possible? It's really very strange that this memory is so clear in your mind. That you remember this particular thing so clearly. It's like it's something which seems strange to me. What seest thou else? So, what is it? Tell me something more. Is there anything else that you remember in the dark, backward, and abysmal time? So, I want to know that what else do you remember about your past? In the dark, dark means dim. Backward means past. Abyss means bottomless. In the bottomless, in the dark, bottomless past. Can you bring out anything from that dark, bottomless past of time? So, is there anything which you can still remember more than this? Besides the fact that there were 4 or 5 women who looked after you, can you recollect of anything else? If so, please try to bring out from the dark, bottomless past. Tell me something more. If you remember, if thou rememberest means if you remember. What ere thou camest here. How thou camest here, thou mayest. So she says that, see, because 4 or 5 women tending her, like 4 or 5 women taking care of her, is a memory of the time before they came to this island. So that is what Prospero says, that if you can remember anything before you came here, because this is something, this memory is of the time before we came to this island. So if you can remember so much, if you can remember of the time, if you have a memory of the time before we came to this island, then please try to think and tell me, do you actually remember how thou camest here? So do you remember anything about the reason why we came here, or how we sorry, not the reason, how we came here? Means maybe that he's talking about the boat when they were thrown out of the kingdom. So do you have any memory of that? Do you remember how we were able to land upon this island? Why? Because that happened later on, na? So if she remembers something which happened earlier than coming on this island, then she must be remembering something about how they landed upon this island. So that is what Prospero wants to know. That Do you still remember anything about that? Miranda says, but that I do not. So Miranda says that no, I'm sorry, I do not remember anything about how we landed upon this island, how we came to this island. So now Prospero says, okay, fine, if you don't remember, I'm going to tell you. So Prospero says, 12 years since, Miranda, 12 years since, thy father was the Duke of Milan and Prince of Bar. So 12 years since means 12 years ago, your father was not living on this island 12 years ago, Miranda, 12 years ago. See, this is how like he's becoming very nostalgic of the time when he was there in Milan. So he says, long, long ago, 12 years ago, Miranda. See, 12 years ago, I was the Duke of your father. See, he didn't say I. He said, your father was the Duke of Milan. And he was a Prince of Par. Means he was a very powerful Duke. Miranda, sir, are not you my father? See, the Miranda is just 15-year-old girl. Like you people, you can imagine yourself. When I'm telling something, you don't want to listen. You have so many questions. You will just listen to 2, 3 lines and then you have a question. So she's like that. So because Prospero said that your father was the Duke of Milan, so and he was a Prince of Par, he was a very powerful Duke of Milan. So Miranda couldn't resist and she just asked a question. She said, sir, are you not my father? So it means you are not my father, because he didn't say I was the Duke of Milan. He said your father was the Duke of Milan. So Miranda said, oh, then it means you are not my father. Is it so? So Prospero says, thy mother was a piece of virtue, and she said thou wast my daughter. No, it's not so. Your mother was a woman of character. Your mother was a piece of virtue, means your mother was a piece of chastity. She was a pure woman, right? That means she was a woman of character. And she told me that I am your father. She told me that you are my daughter. So obviously I will be your father. Right? And thy father was Deepak. And she told me that you are my daughter and your father was the Duke of Milan. Means I, being your father, besides being your father, was also the Duke of Milan. And his only heir, a princess, no worse. So, and Miranda, you were the only heir. You were the only successor. You were my only child, right? You were my only child. And you were no less than a princess, no worse issue. And you were a very good child, right? You were a very worthy child. No less means not a worthless one. You were a very good child, a very worthy child who was born to noble parents, right? Who was born to royal parents. So it's not that from the very beginning we have been on this island. This is not our reality. Our reality is that I was the duke and you were the princess and my only child. So you were the heir of Milan. Miranda, oh, the heavens! What foul play had we, that we came from thence? How blessed was it we did? So Miranda says, oh, the heavens! Now Miranda is shocked and surprised to know this. She says, oh my God! Then was it something that someone conspired? Then what went wrong? Did someone conspire against us? Did someone did some foul means what was the reason? And did someone commit some foul play against us? Were we the victims of some conspiracy? What happened? Please tell me, how did we land upon this island? If I was the princess, you were the duke, then what went wrong? What was the reason that we are here? From thence means from there. What was the reason that we were just we had to leave that dukedom and come to this island? Or blessed was it we did? Or was it something the other way? Or was it something that we landed in some problem and it was something very lucky to land upon this island? Or were we fortunate enough to land upon this island? Means there could be only two reasons. Either landing upon this island could be a blessing in disguise, or it might be the result of someone's foul play. Means someone played foul against us. Somebody cheated us. Somebody deceived us. So, what was it, Father? I want to know. Were we the victims of deception and cheating by someone, or was it that it was a blessing in disguise that we landed upon this island? Prospero, both, my daughter. So he says that actually both these things are true. Whatever you say means we were the victims also, victims of deception also, and we were, and landing upon this island was a blessing in disguise also. Right? So, can you tell me how? So they are living and they are safe upon this island. This is a blessing in disguise. Right? They are fortunate enough to be alive at this hour, to be alive 12